Hi Trailblazers, this is Mrs. Wright, your librarian, and today I want to share some books with you that focus on poetry. Sometimes when we think about poetry, we think of predictable rhyming, or we know about haiku, and we often know about acrostic poems, where the first letter of the thing that it spells all the way down has a line describing it. But when we start to write our own poetry, we tend to stick to those things sometimes. So I want to show you some collections of poetry that you can read for pleasure, or that might inspire you to write some of your own. Something like this or something different. The first one I want to show you is called Thunder Underground. These poems are written by Jane Yolen, and they all have a theme about something that's underground, like the roots of a tree, or a basement, or where insects live, and earthworms, or a subway. So every poem has something in common, even though the poems are about very different subjects. They have the underground in common. This one is really unusual. This is called Mirror, Mirror, a book of reverso poems, and it was written by Marilyn Singer. And what's interesting about these poems is that when you read them going this way, they are in reverse going this way. So this one says, "Who says it's true? Down is the only view. If you believe that, this poem will challenge you. Up is something new." And this one begins, "Something new is up. You will challenge this poem. If you believe that, the only view is down. It's true, says who." So it's completely in reverse, and it's really difficult to make those make sense. And they all do that. So here's one about Cinderella, here's one about Sleeping Beauty, and the form is completely in reverse, and they try to make it make sense. That's really tricky to write. You might give it a try. This one, written by Mordecai Gerstein, is called Dear Hot Dog, and each of these poems focus on different objects. So this one is about socks, and this one is about shoes, and it has some really good figurative language in it. "You sleep under my bed, yawning at dawn when I wake you." So of course we have personification there because shoes don't actually yawn, but we can imagine how they do. It says, "You swallow my feet for breakfast. You love to run, and though I'm fast, you always want to run faster and faster." So I like this book because there's a poem about kite and air, and look how it's off to the side, like both of those things are affected by the wind. There's one about water. So it's really, it really plays with the formats. This book is a nonfiction book called Learning About Poems, and it has some poetry in it, but it also has information about poems and how to set them up. So it'll have an example of a poem and information to help you write poetry or to help you understand it. This one is called A Full Moon is Rising. This one was written by Marilyn Singer, and it has poems that focus on location. So this one is focused on the Moon Festival in Hong Kong. This is called Staircase to the Moon in Australia. This one is called Moon Illusion in Cape Town, South Africa. So again, it has something in common, but it changes the places every time. And you might be familiar with some places, and you could think of something in common and write a set of poetry, a collection of poetry with those different places in common too. And it wouldn't have to be different countries because you have experience yourself. Like, what if you had a collection of poetry, like this is the library, and this is the cafeteria, and this is the playground. So there are lots of possibilities. This is called Poems in the Attic. It was written by Nikki Grimes, and the premise of this is that the girl goes upstairs and finds some letters and descriptions, and each poem focuses on another place, but in this case it's New Mexico and Colorado and North Carolina. So different places where her mother, I guess she found the poetry that from places her mother visited. This is an older book. It's called If I Were in Charge of the World and Other Worries. It was written by Judith Viorst. And even though the poems are older, I think some of them are really quite funny. So this one is called 15, maybe 16 Things to Worry About. And it begins, "My pants could maybe fall down when I dive off the diving board. My nose could maybe keep growing and never quit. My teacher could ask me to spell words like stomach and special. I could play tag all day and always be it. So it rhymes, but it also kind of connects us. This section of the poems are called Cats and Other People, which, you know, if you're a cat person, you might connect to it. It has a few illustrations, but mostly black and white. I really like the voice in a lot of these poems. So this one is called I'm Not the Biggest or Smallest or Shortest or Tallest or Fastest or Slowest or Meanest or Sweetest. And I'm not the oldest or youngest or smartest or dumbest, but most of all, I'm not the neatest. So you might like some of these. I think this one is really interesting. It's called Flicker Flash. It's newer. And each poem has something to do with light. But look at these. These are called concrete poems because the words form the shape of the object. So like all the words here in a candle are in the shape of a candle, and the whole poem describes it. And this one is the sun, a light bulb, a porch light. So again, the collection, here are the stars and the full moon. It's even in a constellation. So the arrangement of the words matters, and it's got a theme, which is light. This one is called Hoops. It was written by Robert Burleigh, and it's got really short phrases or stanzas. So just a little bit, but word choice is so important in poetry. There's this one I really like. I love this one. It says, the weight of you hanging from fine, invisible threads. So you're not really, you know, I don't know. It's a really good image. And then it says, the eyes. So look at them waiting to see what happens. Is the ball going to go swish? What's going to happen? And the illustrations really reinforce those words, the eyes. We know exactly what he means, but he only uses 2 words there. So this is some really powerful poetry, all in one book. The last one I'm going to show you is a collection of poems called Forgive Me, I Meant to Do It. It was written by Gail Carson Levine, who also wrote Ella Enchanted, which doesn't seem like a connection. But by the way, if you've only seen the movie of that, please read the book. It's so, so much better. Just trust me on that. Often the book is better, but in this case, it's just especially true. So this book of poems is kind of mean. It's just really, there's no question about it. So there is a poem by William Carlos Williams that's really famous, and it basically says, this is just to say, I ate the plums that you were saving for breakfast in the icebox, and I'm really sorry, but they were really good. And so all of these poems sort of make fun of that poem by doing fake apologies. So like this one is, this is just to say, dwarves, you snore, pick your noses, never take a bath. Although I always encourage you to be at your best, forgive me. I'm making myself ugly and leaving with the witch. So obviously that one is from the point of view of Snow White. And this one is, this is just to say, you fell and cracked your skull on the hill where I had carefully placed a banana peel. Forgive me, Jill is now my girlfriend. So again, pretty harsh, not for everybody, but you might find it amusing. One more, this is just to say, if you have feet, I hope you put on your slippers when my spaceship thunderously shattered your bedroom window. Forgive me, glass is unknown on my home planet. So I think this might also inspire some poetry. Let's make sure that we don't cross that fine line between mean and funny. So definitely let's not write poems about people that we know, because that's not funny. But some of these fairy tale inspired ones I think are quite amusing and clever, and you might like to read them even if you're not ready to write any of them yet. So please know that we have hundreds and hundreds of books about poetry, and poetry is not always what you might think. So I hope you find something wonderful to read today and every day.